All right, welcome back to our How to Launch Your Online Coaching Business series. So the whole goal of this series is to help you launch your online coaching business and attract your first or next high-paying clients within the next 30 days.
That's right. So in this video, we're going to share with you how to find your online coaching niche. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So in case we haven't met yet, I'm Jess, this is Jeff, and we've built 2 six-figure coaching businesses, both within 90 days, completely organically.
That's right, guys. And the reason that we're doing the series is to share with you the lessons we've learned along the way so that you can have the freedom to work from anywhere, make an impact, and design a lifestyle you want. It's possible. And if you set up your online coaching business the right way, the way that we're going to share with you on how to do it, you can make it happen. And so I know the word freedom gets thrown around a lot. We touched on that in the last video. By the way, in case you haven't watched the first video of the series, go watch it, or else this might not all make sense. These are in sequential order. But if you ask the average person, what does freedom mean to you? They're like, I don't know. We'll tell you what it means to us. We have a couple definitions of freedom, but one of them is, in terms of your online business, does it pass what we call the Costa Rica test? Now, when I say the Costa Rica test, I mean, are you able to pick up at a moment's notice and within 24 hours, book a one-way ticket to Costa Rica to be there for at least a week? If so, your online business passes the Costa Rica test. If it doesn't, you should probably talk to us. We'll show you how to hook it up. But you want to tell our backstory on how we kind of came up with this name?
Yeah, so the Costa Rica test came about because back when we first started dating, we went to Costa Rica for the first time together. That was our first international trip. And so how that came about was we were sitting in a coffee shop and Jeff came up and said, "Hey, want to go to Costa Rica with me?" I said, "Sure." And within 20 minutes, I had bought a plane ticket so that we could up and leave and go to Costa Rica for, I think it was a week or 2 at that time.
She's a keeper, right? I know.
So my business passed the Costa Rica test. I was able to buy a plane ticket and head down to Costa Rica and knew that my business would be fully functioning and sustainable. There'd be no problems with me doing that. Same thing with our current coaching business. We can buy a plane ticket and head to Costa Rica when we want to because we set our coaching business up so that it can be self-sustainable and not fall apart if we want to go travel somewhere.
That's right. And it's a great name because a lot of our clients that we vibe with, if you're watching this and you're digging our vibe, you probably like Costa Rica too. You know what I mean? But if not, figure out what your Costa Rica test is. You know, is it the Paris test? Is it the Bali test? I would suggest that it's not the Bali test because that is not the best place to run a coaching business. We could get into that in a later video.
We'll touch on that in another video.
Yeah, but basically what freedom is, one of the definitions of it for us, what it looks like is the Costa Rica test. And so we just wanted to share that with you guys because we know like freedom's a lot more than just the fake Rolex watches. You're not gonna see any of those over here. Let's get back into the video. So what are we gonna cover?
Today, we're gonna show you how to find your online coaching niche. So let's go.
Let's do it. You wanna take them in?
Yeah, let's go. So here's what we're gonna cover. 1, what exactly is a niche? 2, why it pays to niche down. 3, what holds most coaches back from niching down. 4, the number 1 example of niching down. And 5, the hidden benefit of niching down.
Oh, this is gonna be a party. Guys, pay attention. You're gonna learn something.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one.
A lot of niche mindset about to happen.
So 1, what exactly is a niche?
So a niche is a specific group of people with a specific desire.
That's right. So a few examples of this are a job. So for example, nurses who want to make more money. It can be location, example, Americans who want to move to Puerto Rico. Or it can be gender. An example of that would be a woman who wants to find a good man.
Nailed that.
Now note, the more specific you get, the better.
So here's why it pays to niche down. So here's the deal. Niche messaging is literally the foundation of your online coaching business. In fact, we say it accounts for 80% of the success that you're gonna have in your online coaching business.
It is so important.
It's literally that important. And the issue that we see with most coaches out there, so listen carefully to this. If this is you, take note. And by the way, I'm glad you guys are watching this video. You're gonna learn way more about niching for your coaching business, and you're gonna be light years ahead of other coaches. But basically, the big issue we see with most coaches is that they are invisible. Here's what we mean. They have very general niche messaging. They're a life coach, they're a business coach. Well, they're invisible because they're just in a sea of all these other coaches with the same messaging. And so when your potential prospects see in your Instagram or your social media bios that you're a life coach or a business coach, well, they're like, I've seen this before. It's a little too general for me, and I'm just gonna throw them in the bucket of all of those other life coaches. We want to stand out. We don't want to be a general coach, okay? We want to be a specialist coach and really dial in our niche messaging. Now, a funny little example we gave in our last video on the power of being a specialist at first.
Oh, yes.
was the gut health example that we brought up. So for example, I used to have some gut health issues. We're on the mend. Awesome.
Thank God.
Yeah. But when I would go to a generalist doctor, I'd have a $5 copay, right? But then when I would go to a specialist doctor, they were charging me thousands. I was happy to pay it. But as you guys can see, we want you to start thinking about your coaching business the same way. It actually does not pay to be a generalist at all. Number one, you're going to be invisible. But number two, you cannot charge the specialist prices. So I hope that makes sense.
So this is best illustrated by the story of two online coaches. So this story was inspired by one of our clients who came to us as a generalist, and then we turned her into a specialist. She started out, well, you'll see, she started out generalist, not making a lot, turning it into a specialist, and being able to quit her 9-to-5 job.
And guys, this happens fast. How fast do we turn her from a generalist to a specialist?
In a day.
Yep. When did she get her first client?
Within 5 days.
Yep. When was she able to quit her job?
5 weeks. Wow, that's kind of cool.
Gosh.
So here's a story of two coaches. You have Coach A, who's a generalist, and you have Coach B, who's a specialist. Coach A, for example, fit coach for anyone. Coach B, for example, fit coach for RDHs.
What's an RDH, Jess?
A registered dental hygienist.
Ooh, getting
hard one to
really
say.
specialized right there.
So specialized. So Coach A, the generalist, their price point, they charge about $60 an hour. And Coach B, the specialist, their price point, $3K. So Coach A, generalist, their operations are difficult because every single client is different. And Coach B, the specialist, their operations are simple because it's a rinse and repeat system.
That's exactly right. So for all you guys watching that are maybe a generalist coach, you're just working with everybody. I mean, the cool thing is you can technically, in theory, work with everybody, but then it makes your operations so difficult, right?
So difficult.
There's no rinse and repeat system. Every client you have to treat separately versus if you're a specialist, like in the case of our client here, she just narrowed her focus on just helping RDHs. And so it was just a rinse and repeat coaching business for her.
How freaking cool is that?
That's what it should be for your guys' coaching business as well. In fact, it's why we keep on narrowing down who we work with. At first, we worked with pretty much any client-based business. You need clients, we'll help you out, kind of thing. This is with our old coaching business. And at first, we were working with real estate agents, we were working with consultants, we were working with coaches as well, and a few other client-based businesses. And so then we just zoomed in our focus to just working with other coaches, essentially.
It made everything a lot easier and a lot simpler. So as you probably have heard before, the riches are in the niches.
That's right. So we're going to bring in the big guns with this and bring in my main man, Hormozy, to help illustrate this one.
When he says main man, he has not met Hormozy before. I think there's a little bit of a man crush happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just, we're very like-minded individuals.
Of course you are.
Huge guns.
Huge guns. I know, babe.
So here's my main man, Hormozy, right here, looking like a stud. And as you can see, he gives a great example on why the riches are in the niches. So as you can see up here on this little screen behind him, time management sells for $19. Time management for sales professionals can sell for $99. We're getting more niche down. Time management for outbound B2B sales reps, $499, and then time management for outbound B2B power tools and gardening sales reps is $1,997. So long story short, you can literally 10x the price of your coaching program simply by niching down. And that's why they say the riches are in the niches.
Mic drop. So the main reason it pays to niche down is because most coaches won't do it, which means the result is there's less competition when you do niche down.
Right, and here's why it gets really freaking cool is you can literally come in day one and be the top dog, the top coach in your industry by just getting hyper specialized. Pretty epic, right?
So epic. So that takes us to point 3 of this video. What holds most coaches back from niching down? So if we know it pays to niche down, then why don't we do it?
It's a good question. And so we can actually explain that very clearly based on where you're at in your coaching business. So if you're a coach making under 2K per month, the reason that maybe you haven't niched down yet, even though logically you know you should, is because if we're being honest, it's because of a scarcity mindset. At this point, you just need to get money in the door, right? And you're like, I'll take anyone. You know, you're basically looking for a heartbeat, essentially. I know it sounds bad, but it's the truth. Level 10 feedback, that's what we give you here. We have fun, but we tell it like it is. But then, let's say that you're a coach that's making above 2K and then under 20K. New level, new devil, as they say. And so the issue that you're having right here, and the reason why it's holding you back from niching down is you are a Swiss Army knife. What I mean by that, we've all played with the Swiss Army knife, right?
Yes.
Is you've built up all these great skills, and so technically you can't help a lot of people out there, and that's why you haven't niched down, because you can help everybody, but it's actually hurting you. So Jess, what would you say to these people who are maybe they're making 0 to 2K or they're making 2 to 20K. They know they should niche down, but either they're looking for a heartbeat,
right,
just trying to get money in the door, or they're a Swiss Army knife. What would you say?
What I would say is, remember the biggest coaches in the world, they started niche down. So the Tony Robbins of this world, they didn't start out as Tony Robbins. They started somewhere, got themselves on the board, and then they started to broaden out once they started making a name for themselves. So have the big vision, yes, but you need to start somewhere, and that starts with niching down. So here's the mindset shift that will help you start niche down.
So like we just talked about earlier, logically it makes sense to niche down. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we know logically we could become a big fish in a small pond, but then there becomes that mental battle. You know, it's literally a mindset thing. And so what we're going to give you right here is the solution to that so that you can finally niche down. And so here's that solution. It's to make a niche roadmap. So what a niche roadmap is we actually made it up. So if you hear anyone else talking about it, it came from us first, but it's basically where we take your niche messaging and we start really hyper niche, and then we figure out where your grand vision is. And then we roadmap you from where your targeted niche should be to where you want to be. Does that make sense? So here's an example of a niche roadmap for that RDH coach that we talked about earlier. So at first, they could be a fat loss coach for RDHs, which is what we turned it into. The next step would be to become a fat loss coach for women. The next step after that would be a fat loss coach for everyone. And then finally, she could reach her final goal of being a health coach for everyone. Do you see how that works? Does this give you like a little bit of clarity on how you can have that grand vision and then you could start super niche and then slowly work your way there? You're still on the same path. This is just the way to make the most money while you're reaching your vision, right?
So that brings us to point 4, the number 1 example of niching down. So when we talk about niching down, we always use Jeff Bezos as an example because he is literally the perfect example of niching down. So here's what we mean by that. Jeff Bezos of Amazon, when he first started, what did he sell?
Books.
That's right. And now what does Jeff Bezos of Amazon sell?
He sells freaking everything.
That's exactly it. So when he first started, he was so niche. He was an online bookshop. Now, what doesn't he sell is the question. I think he's even heading to space as we speak. So it's a perfect example of starting out niche, having the bigger vision, and building that niche roadmap so that you can get to that bigger vision, but starting simple.
So then the next question becomes, I mean, you nailed that.
Thank you.
Was that clear for you guys? Hope so. If not, let us know in the comments below. But then the next question becomes, okay, Jeff and Jess, how do I know in this niche roadmap when to go to the next rung? And honestly, you gotta start stacking some client results. So at the very least, for you to move to the next rung, you need at least 5 to 10 really good client results or case studies. Make sense?
Yes. And the final point, point 5, the hidden benefit of niching down. So here's what we mean. When you niche down and you get into a niche, you're able to stack some banging client results, which in turn helps you create a moat for your business.
That's exactly it, guys. Those client results become a moat, like Jess just said. So what is a moat? To be honest, I'm not quite sure what the dictionary definition of it is, so sue me. But I do know, I've watched a lot of Vikings, and I do know that when they have these castles, they have a moat around it, which is basically the water around it. And that moat makes it really hard for people who are thinking about trying to overtake that kingdom. They see the moat, and then a lot of the times they're just like, oh shoot, there's a moat. This is gonna be hard to try to overthrow this kingdom. We're just not even gonna go for it, kind of thing. And the same thing's gonna happen when you get really hyper targeted on a niche and you stack some client results as your moat. Other people who are thinking about joining the niche that you're in, they're gonna see your moat of client results and be like, okay, that is a very well defended niche. I don't even want to jump into this.
That's right. So you guys, your action step for this video is to commit to niching down.
That's right, guys. So that's all we got for this video. See you in the next one.